Kyoto has so much to offer beyond the crowded tourist spots. There's a whole other side of the city just waiting to be discovered. Today I'm taking you to Hyakumanben, home to the largest flea market for handcrafted goods. We'll catch a glimpse of the Aoi Matsuri, one of Kyoto's most iconic festivals. And of course, we're swinging by some of my favorite stationery heavens and stopping by an underrated spot for some of the best and oldest matcha in Kyoto. So grab your traveler's notebook, coffee, or some tea, and let's go! Today's trip starts on two wheels. I'm not that good of a cyclist, but I really enjoyed riding along the riverbanks. It's just you, the water, and the wind. I do recommend taking a cycling tour in Kyoto if you can. It's the best way to understand how the city moves, with a local being confident enough to guide you through the streets. You'll see how the neighborhoods connect, how the temples and gardens breathe differently depending on where you are. And it's also a really great way to give your legs a bit of a rest. A couple of kilometers on a bike, or even an e-bike, is much easier on the legs than 20,000 steps. Our tour took us to the Kamogawa Delta, where Kamo River meets Takano River. This is the famous Turtle Rock crossing. I'll admit, I was a little nervous the first time and I was focusing hard to make sure I didn't slip. It wasn't slippery at all, and the distance is just enough that you can comfortably hop from stone to stone. The water actually looks deeper than it is. I was in my head with the whole Squid Game vibe of it, and then our tour guide, Nao-san, just stepped off towards the end without hesitation, and I realized it's actually incredibly shallow. I was really lucky to have done this in late spring, so a nice cool breeze was still going. As we were leaving, a Shiba Inu was walking by, crossing the stones way more gracefully than any of us. Apparently, that's just life at the Delta. I'll have another video of the full cycle tour, where to book and what to expect. For now, let's head down to the flea market. Hyakumanben Chionin is the temple here, and on flea market days, which happen every 15th of the month, it transforms into this huge buzzing marketplace. You'll see juice stalls, food vendors lined up at the edges and at the center, bread and coffee, and the whole scene is just very alive. The temple itself is one of Kyoto's Pure Land Buddhist temples, and it's been here since the 11th century. The name Hyakumanben actually means 1 million recitations. It's the Buddhist practice of chanting the Nembutsu a million times. Even here, you can feel the spiritual intention of the place, despite being packed with people shopping for handmade goods. The Tezukurishi is the largest flea market for handcrafted goods in Kyoto. All the vendors here must have made their products by hand. So you'll see miniature gardens like super tiny ones that take serious patience to build, hand-painted pottery, beautiful indigo-dyed scarves, gloves, and accessories. And every stall has something that feels like it came from someone's craft, not a factory line. I enjoyed my time at this particular stall and even picked up 2 matcha bowls from here. One that's a regular-sized blue chawan and one that's a katakuchi chawan which has a lip, so it makes it easier to pour for matcha lattes. The glaze work was great, and I really love all the subtle variations. I can definitely say that each piece is one of a kind. I had a lovely chat with the Obasan who ran the stall. She even confirmed that I was flying out and took the time to really wrap the goods in this gorgeous blue designed paper that I used for junk journaling later on. Now this stall here, this is the famous guy who does miniature bookcases and furniture. I really loved how perfectly proportioned tiny wooden cabinets could bring you so much joy. I picked up this cute little student's desk that even has the traditional Japanese backpack hanging on the side, and a couple of books to sit atop my desk. I think that's why I love this flea market above all other flea markets in Kyoto. Because of the selection and the unique goods that you find, and the overall vibe was really perfect for a Friday afternoon. If you're coming here by car or bike, which I do recommend, there's a good set of parking spots on the side of the temple. I took a minute to sit in this area just to ground myself, gather all my shopping bags, and arrange my stuff, and be filled with gratitude at the fact that my trip coincided with the 15th of the month. So I got to experience this wonderful market. I hope you enjoyed walking around with me, and maybe if your trip coincides with the dates, enjoy the experience yourself too. Kyoto has a bunch of other flea markets, and I'll leave a link down in the description so you can see which flea markets happen on which dates. From Hyakumanben, let's go over to the Kyoto Imperial Palace. On this day, luckily enough, it was also the Aoi Matsuri. This is one of Kyoto's 3 major festivals, and it's super old. We're talking hundreds of years of history here. I saw people in long white robes and distinctive black hats. They're part of the official procession, and they're recreating the court dress from the Heian period. There were kids dressed up too, some with leaves woven into their hair. And I saw a sacred ox adorned with fabric and ornaments. Really not something that you see every day. Japan was plagued by disastrous rains, high winds, crop failures, and epidemics. The emperor was told that these disasters were punishment from the Kamo deities, so he dispatched an imperial envoy to conduct a ritual that would appease them. By the 9th century, when Kyoto became the imperial capital, the current emperor recognized the Kamo shrine deities as protectors of the city, and so the Aoi Matsuri became an official annual imperial event. The full procession, I think, consists of 2 ox carts, 4 cows, 36 horses, and 100 participants, all in full Heian period regalia. The festival is named after aoi leaves, or hollyhock, used to decorate shrine buildings, imperial carriages, apparel, headwear, the oxen and horses themselves. In the Heian period, these leaves were believed to protect against natural disasters like earthquakes and thunder, which is a belief that stretched back to Buddhist and Shinto practices. We rerouted through the garden area where they'd set up food stalls. After this, I went over to Demachiyanagi Station for my favorite little food stall in the area. Onigiri Toshijiro sells great karaage, and he always gives me an extra piece and has a bright smile on his face, so I don't know if that influences my decision. It's such a small gesture, but it's the kind of thing that makes a place feel like home away from home. So I hopped on a train, which is relatively easy when you get a pass like this. It covers the Kansai area, and suddenly every train, bus, and corner of the city opens up to you without the constant mental math of individual transport fares. Next time you're in one of the train stations, catch your breath and try to look for this little table, which is usually near the ticket gates. That's why I always love having a traveler's notebook. It becomes a living map of where I've been and who fed me along the way. Now I find myself in central Kyoto. Nishiki Market is busy. It's famous and touristy and very chaotic in the best way. But if you know where to go, you can find the quiet special corners without the overpriced goods. Tamaru Inbo is a stamp shop that's been in Nishiki Market for generations. They specialize in traditional Japanese stamps, the kind that people use for seals and personal marks, but they also have this incredible selection of decorative stamps that would make any stationery lover weep. The cool thing is that you can actually get a personalized stamp made in 30 minutes if you want one. I wasn't here for that today. I was here for their massive selection of ready-made stamps. I did my homework before coming and looked at their website, made a list of what I wanted, and showed it to the clerk. That saved me from getting completely overwhelmed by choice because there's thousands of stamps in this little shop. I'll leave a link down below to where you can check out their website and do the same. My favorites were the ones with Kansai-ben, the dialect of Kyoto in Western Japan. I wanted to get yoroshiu, which is the Kyoto way of saying yoroshiku, like thanks for your help, please take care of me. It's a small thing, but it's distinctly Kyoto, and I really enjoyed listening for it in the conversations happening around me. I also picked up one that I didn't plan on, which says yaruwayo, which means something like, let's do it. I'll have details on each stamp in my mega haul video. Now we're heading to my favorite matcha store in Kyoto called Horaido. The Horaido tea shop was founded in 1803, specializing in Uji tea with a history of over 220 years. It's been run by the Yasumori family, and the present owner is Nagahiro Yasumori. I find that the tea that's here is quite complex and flavorful, and yet very well balanced. My favorite matcha from here is the Yomogashima. That's a spring harvest, delicate and good umami. And I also like the Miyako no Shiro. If you're wondering which type of tea to choose, talk to Nagahiro-san and tell him your preference, and he'll definitely give you the best answer. Leave a link down in the description for anyone who's interested. Then I found myself in Teramachi, one of Kyoto's main shopping streets, a covered arcade. It's less crazy busy than Nishiki Market. It was originally established in the late 16th century as a temple district. The name literally means temple town. Maybe that's why this street is also a lot calmer. There are lots of bookshops here, vintage clothing boutiques, modern shops mixed in with places that have been selling the same things for 300 plus years. It's the blend that makes it interesting. Old and new living side by side and making it work. The shop I was after in this area is called Kyukyodo. It opened in 1663 as a pharmacy, would you believe? It evolved into a purveyor of fine stationery and incense, originally producing and selling incense and calligraphy materials for all the nearby temples. Today, it's one of the most beautiful stationery and incense shops you'll find anywhere. Washi paper in every finish and color, memorable postcards, notebooks that feel like they were made specifically for your hand. The postcards here aren't even just tourist postcards, but actual pieces of art, many of which are 3D or have special textures. The incense that they sell in Kyukyodo is also serious business. The goods are all high quality and each item is beautifully wrapped in the store's signature wrapping paper at no extra charge. I've been collecting great wrapping paper on this trip, if you've noticed. I'm really happy at how they've adorned the rest of my travel journal. Just around the corner, one of the stores that I swung by here is called Tag Stationery. The service wasn't as warm as some of the other places, but the selection is unbeatable. They've got Goshuincho, which are the stamping books where you collect temple seals, campus notebooks, nolty planners, Jibun Techo, Noble pads, Lamy pens, Pilot Iroshizuku, you name it. And what I went for were their own house brand Tag Stationery inks. I also picked up some guitar Teranishi inks because they had them on display, and I was absolutely drawn to the softly sheening green ink called Lady Emerald. Stay till the end of the video to see a quick swatch. Then it was off to Shinpok on the other side of town for a definite favorite, Traveler's Factory Kyoto. I filmed that whole experience separately, so you can check out that video for a deep dive into the store and what I picked up. By evening, I found myself back in central Kyoto at Takashimaya, one of the city's iconic department stores. It's been around since 1831, originally as a vintage clothing and fabric merchant, but now it's evolved into this massive, elegant department store that feels very Kyoto. You can't miss it because there's a huge Super Mario at the storefront. Refined without being cold is how I describe it. The stationery and postcard selection here was excellent. You'll find ink, prints, mementos, souvenirs, all curated carefully. This is at the 6th floor Kyoto Tsutaya Books, with an attached share lounge. where you can take a break, rest, journal, and even get some work done. It's open from 8:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. and you get free coffee, water, tea, and I think they have pastries too. You can plug your devices to charge, there's Wi-Fi, and it's just nice and quiet. So after all that sensory richness, the shopping and walking, and even a bit of cycling, the careful curation of stamps, inks, bowls, tea, and storing all of my purchases in a storage locker nearby, I knew exactly what I needed, and it was a countertop ramen place and a beer. It's not fancy or a destination spot. The noodles were hot, the beer was cold, my feet were tired, my wallet is lighter, and I'm very happy. I think this is a great way to end a shopping day in Japan, the solid meal and a good beer. So I have got all these new stamps from Tamaru Inbo. Let me show you what they look like quickly when you use them. I picked up this nice multicolored red toned pad, which I felt was perfect for the maple leaf stamp. And here's, as promised, the swatch of the Lady Emerald Teranishi ink. I'll have a different video of the haul because it will be too long to tack on here. But I do hope you enjoyed spending time with me in a bit more of the unconventional pockets of Kyoto. Just goes to show that even tourists can experience a more local vibe if you know where to look. Thanks for wandering around Kyoto with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!